Wherever you are, welcome to another take on China. There is a story doing the rounds in Chinese social media about how the USA has overcome some of the tariffs by Walmart announcing that they're making t-shirts from American cotton. How patriotic. Made in American factories and selling in 1,700 stores throughout the United States. The price of the shirt is amazing at only $12.98. And I saw this and I thought, this is great. Finally, the US has the ability to do something that they've been claiming they want to do. However, when I looked a little deeper, I found the story isn't all it's cracked up to be. Honestly, I wish it was. I really do wish that the USA could provide decent jobs and decently priced products for its own people. Sadly, it's not all as it appears, and this isn't some decent patriotic organization doing the right thing to make America great again. This is much more sinister. Now, I only found this out by accident because I thought it was a good story, worthy of a decent look, and I honestly thought for once in my adult life I'd find something good about the USA that I could share with you, my audience. However, I was wrong. Let me start by reminding everyone that cotton from China in any form needs to jump through hoops of fire to get into the USA, as everything is deemed, without any evidence whatsoever, to have been produced using slave labor in Xinjiang. So cotton products in the US should be good. They should come from reliable and ethical sources. This story proves they don't. Before getting into that, let's look at the source of the story in China. The account which put this onto Toutiao, Chinese social media news outlet, is called Qiyue Takes You to See the World, and her profile picture is of a nice-looking Chinese girl, except it's also the profile picture of several other people, including someone with an entirely different name on Twitter. Now, that might be because the girl on Twitter took it off Qiyue's site, but it's also the name of her Instagram account, so that would usually mean it's hers, as her Instagram would usually put a lot more photos to match the profile picture, wouldn't it? It could be that they're just both using the same AI-generated photo because it's a pretty girl, and they hope it will attract more attention. A Google reverse image search shows that this is a commonly used photo, so who knows? That part of the story could be totally innocent, but it could also be an example of how the US uses soft power infiltration into Chinese social media, and that's a very different story altogether. The account on Toutiao, Qiyue Takes You to See the World, is a very simple one. It takes stories it feels are of interest, translates them into Chinese, and then posts them without any credit or reference to the original article. Now, I hate that because it's happened to me several times. And while I love my stories and articles and videos getting a wider audience, I hate the fact that the audience isn't informed of who I am so they can follow me too. However, in the case of the one that is buzzing around Chinese social media at the moment, the original article was published in Forbes magazine, and it appeared as long ago as June last year, when Walmart went on a promotion spree to advertise to people that citizens in the USA could buy a $12.98 t-shirt and wear it on the 4th of July. Whether they paid Forbes for the promotion is unknown, but it's quite likely that what we're reading, we think are news articles, they are in fact paid promotions. Only Forbes could answer that one. And yet here it is, surfacing and doing the rounds on Chinese social media in the last couple of days, as if it's something the US has just done to overcome tariffs. Is this timing a coincidence? I don't think so. I suspect, but of course I can't prove, it's a soft power media manipulation made to make the Chinese people think the USA is on top of the tariff war and handling the problem that every Chinese person knows they are facing, that of shortages of pretty much everything Walmart and every other corporation and medium-sized enterprise is going to experience in the very near future. But it gets worse. I also looked into the company that makes the t-shirts. They're not Walmart, they're called American Giant. It set up its manufacturing plant in North Carolina, not in any one of the other 49 states, and not because the founder was from there. Bayard Winthrop, the founder, is in San Francisco, but his factory's in North Carolina, because North Carolina has very lax labor laws. Minimum wage is still $7.25. Overtime is paid at $10.87. North Carolina has incorporated since 1947 a right-to-work law, which means unions are not required there, but employees may even be forced to pay union dues even if they're not members. It's also one of the states that not only uses prison labor in factories and fields, it's a state that doesn't say prison labor is optional. Prison labor is a legal requirement of the prison system in North Carolina. So prisoners who refuse are punished. They may miss out on parole opportunities. They can be held in solitary confinement. And to add to that, according to the US Census Bureau, the total number of migrant workers in that state is 12.7. In other words, 1 in every 17 employees in North Carolina is a migrant. And why choose a large migrant state? It's because migrants are the cheapest to employ. So a person wanting to exploit poorly educated workers would happily choose this state to open a factory, and Winthrop even admits this in a recent interview that I've linked, where he says he deliberately chose North Carolina for its cheap labor and immigrant communities. Many corporations use prison labor. In fact, Walmart, although it's one of the biggest, is just one of the many in the USA exposed in an AP article. The list includes some very large names. I've linked this too. It includes Apple, Microsoft, and many more recognizable brands that benefit from prison labor. So we know from an AP report that Walmart uses prison labor. We know for a fact that North Carolina uses forced labor. We also know that much of the cotton in the USA comes through the US prison system. It's getting to be such that this is a human rights abuse that's hard to ignore. And for confirmation of this, I went to a US site which collates information about American corporations. It didn't have many nice things to say about American Giant, that's for sure. There's also a rating site for employees to register their views on a company called comparably.com, and they only have a rating of 2.5 out of 5. That's 50%. So what this story tells us is not a patriotic tale of a US success story, but a horror story of late-stage capitalism. American Giant, the manufacturer, buys cotton, some of it produced by slaves, turns it into a range of products that is almost certainly made by exploited migrant workers, sends them to a retailer that has a reputation of using unpaid prison labor to reduce their costs, while at the same time remaining one of the world's richest corporations, and its owners, the Walton family, remain one of the world's richest families. All at the same time as their government is alleging China is doing exactly this and banning ethically sourced imports from China's Xinjiang region. This sure looks like an example of accuse your enemies of what you do. Oh, and for the record, I found a photo of one of the sewing machines in the North Carolina factory and wondered why it was they'd covered up the name with a piece of cloth. So I did a reverse image search on Google and found that this is a Brother sewing machine. Brother is a huge brand and very well known. It's actually Japanese, but they don't make sewing machines in Japan. They make them in Zhuhai, which just happens to be in Guangdong, China. So far from being patriotic and supporting MAGA, Walmart is not promoting anything good here. An all-American t-shirt actually uses exploited migrant workers, not American workers, making cheap products using materials supplied by slaves on a Japanese machine made in China. And the final nail in the coffin of this story is that it was never about tariffs. It was published in June of last year before Donald Trump was even elected, let alone placed tariffs on China. And that is what I call misinformation. Please don't forget to share this one widely. I'd love to see this go viral and get the Walton family boycotted by people who really do care about rights, human rights, employment rights. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.